dinosaurs ruled the prehistoric world, but the skeletons they left behind tell only part of their story. Before they vanished, they took steps to preserve their cold-blooded reputations. Now, a trail of fossilized footprints unleashes the horror of predator and prey caught in their eternal dance of death. Rugged canyonlands of eastern Utah support life on a small scale. Yet once, huge herds of plant-eating giants thrived here. For one fleeting moment, 150 million years ago, a creature passed this way and left a footprint in the sand. Here, frozen in time, is a rare glimpse into the life of a dinosaur. In the Jurassic era, Utah was covered by a vast inland sea. Its waves broke onto the shores of a huge desert whose dunes stretched to the horizon. Today, it's the hunting ground of paleontologist Martin Lockley of the University of Colorado.
This is the perfect sort of place to find dinosaur tracks. When the sea came into this area, it made the sand flats and the mud flats wet. That's the perfect medium in which the dinosaurs could leave their nice deep footprints to be preserved forever. In fact, if you want to find tracks, what you need to do is come down to the Jurassic beach.
Lockley has spent 10 years following in the footsteps of the dinosaurs. It takes his trained geological eye to recognize that this arid place was once the shore of a huge sea.
I got interested in it when I realized that there were so many unstudied trackways, particularly in the western United States. The great potential of dinosaur trackways is that they deal with they represent the living animal. They don't represent death and decay like bones and skeletons, dead creatures. They represent the animals moving, going about their daily life in their habitat, so we can understand all aspects of, or many aspects of, individual and social behavior from this, these sort of motion pictures almost that we have of the dinosaurs in action.
With the discovery of each new trackway, a powerful tool emerges for understanding the dinosaurs. A footprint contains a wealth of information if you know what to look for. The width and depth of the print are clues to the animal's size. The distance between prints shows how fast it moved and how long its legs were. The length of the leg helps determine the monster's height, and the shape of the toes reveals the kind of dinosaur it was.
This is a typical track for this region. As you can see, we have 3 prominent digit impressions. It's an elongate track with a prominent heel, and it's got sharp claws or claw marks on the end of each digit. This is typical of a carnivore track. In fact, the inturned central claw impression tells us that it's a left foot. We can start to put all this information together, and we've definitely got a carnivorous dinosaur. And in this region, the typical carnivores known at this time are allosaurs.
Allosaurus was a monster the height of a 2-story building. Its skull was equipped with a powerful jaw lined with dagger-like teeth designed for killing and dismembering its prey. The feet that left these impressions were also used as weapons. 3 viciously curved claws could hold down the victim and tear its flesh. Lockley has unearthed the footprints of 3 main types of dinosaurs. Carnivores like Allosaurus had 3 sharp claws. Plant-eating ornithopods like Iguanodon had 3 more rounded toes. Earth-shaking sauropods like Apatosaurus left the biggest prints, more than 2 feet across and twice the size of an elephant's print.
For a long time, paleontologists really didn't take trackways seriously. They were considered the lunatic fringe of the science, a trivial pursuit almost. I think it was really because people believed that trackways couldn't provide any information, and on top of that, they thought that they were rare, which they're not. They're much more abundant than people thought in the past.
Before anyone even imagined the existence of dinosaurs, a trackway was found in New England in 1802. Thousands more were unearthed by clergyman and scholar Edward Hitchcock, who believed they belonged to a bird he dubbed Noah's Raven. The existence of dinosaurs was finally confirmed in 1842, but their footprints would languish in obscurity for another century, until pioneering trackers began systematically looking for them. In the 1930s, near the small town of Glen Rose, Texas, a team from the American Museum of Natural History dammed the Paluxy River to expose the first known tracks of a brontosaur. Today, dinosaur tracks are no longer considered isolated curiosities. Martin Lockley and his colleagues have unearthed millions of footprints and identified hundreds of trackways crisscrossing the American West. At Cactus Park in western Colorado, they've found a typical set of tracks exposed in a stream bed. This is the faint print of a 2-footed predator called Eubrontes, or true thunder. It passed this way almost 200 million years ago, leaving a random scattering of prints. But single prints aren't enough. Lockley is interested in how dinosaurs moved, how far they traveled, what they hunted. To find out, he needs to know how one set of trackways relates to another. Because tracks are often situated miles apart, Lockley has taken to the air. From his vantage point high above Utah's canyonlands, he found an expanse of footprints so large, he christened it the Mega Trackway. In the decades since Martin Lockley began following in the footsteps of dinosaurs, he has proven what no paleontologist dared believe. Footprints are the single most abundant relic of the extinct beasts. He proved it by making an aerial survey of the rocks called the Entrada Formation. They represent a vast Jurassic Ocean shore, which has preserved tracks for 160 million years. By piecing his photos together, Lockley mapped the extent of the Entrada. He estimates its size at more than 300,000 square miles. Combing through dozens of aerial photographs, Lockley found a virtual dinosaur stomping ground, the Mega Trackway. The Entrada Formation is covered with millions of footprints. In some places, they're so dense that 1 square yard holds at least 10 tracks. Each of these prints was made by a single species of carnivore, Allosaurus, which crossed and recrossed this landscape endlessly. Allosaurus was probably a loner searching for prey. That prey was a plant eater that moved in herds. But strangely, no other footprints have been found. Lockley had found the hunter. Next, he went in search of the hunted. To find the missing tracks of the plant eaters, Lockley headed east to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. This is Dinosaur Ridge. These rocks are 100 million years old. Here Lockley found fossilized ripples, telltale signs that this was once a wet, sandy shore. To dinosaur hunters, Dinosaur Ridge is one of the most remarkable discoveries ever made. The rocks contain the prints of plant eaters, all moving together, north and south. They represent a Cretaceous highway along which herds of dinosaurs migrated seasonally over thousands of miles from Wyoming to Texas. Lockley calls it the Dinosaur Freeway. In the millions of years since the Dinosaur Freeway was created, powerful tectonic forces pushed up the land to form the Rockies. Now almost half of all trackways are found on near vertical cliffs. Climbing these steep slopes can be treacherous, but for Lockley, the risk is worth it. These are the footprints of a herd of iguanodons, all moving in the same direction, side by side.
This social behavior is very common amongst herbivorous dinosaurs such as the iguanodon. And when we compare this with the trackway evidence left by carnivorous dinosaurs, we find that it's really very common to see gregariousness or social behavior amongst these herbivores, whereas it's very rare amongst the carnivorous dinosaurs. For example, on this surface there are tracks of carnivorous dinosaurs, but there's no indication that they're traveling in groups side by side.
Monsters on the move, like Iguanodon, cruised the Dinosaur Freeway, driven by the constant search for food to fuel their huge bodies. As they grazed, solitary carnivores moved among them, waiting for the right moment to strike. This footprint of an unidentified two-legged meat-eating dinosaur appears alongside the print of a plant-eating iguanodon, but there's no evidence of a fight. Only one trackway on Earth preserves the terrifying moment when predator locked with prey in the dance of death. That moment has been frozen in time in Australia. Central Queensland is one of the remotest places on Earth, a place sacred to Australia's Aborigines. Prospectors were once drawn here by the promise of gemstones, like opal, buried beneath the earth. Australia isn't known for dinosaurs, and few fossils have been found. But here at Lark's Quarry, a precious relic has been unearthed. It was found by another sort of prospector, University of Queensland paleontologist Tony Thurlborn and his assistant Tim Hanley, who were first drawn to this part of the outback by their wish to find a bone. 100 million years ago, An ancient creek ran through here into a water hole. Around its muddy banks, dinosaurs gathered to drink. After a few days of digging for fossils without success, Tony Thirlborn wondered if the old opal mine might yield anything. Here in the rubble of Lark's quarry, he came across something the miners had discarded and made the discovery of a lifetime.
These are superb little footprints. I mean, this is exactly the spot that a dinosaur trod. It's, if you like, an immediate contact with a dinosaur, a living one, not simply an inert skeleton in a museum. You can actually feel, as it were, or sense the movement, the behaviour, the feelings of dinosaurs, I guess. Perhaps they had emotions like humans, I don't know. But it brings dinosaurs to life, as it were, as I think skeletons never will. It's a bit thin around the edges, but we'll stiffen that up.
To tease out the story hidden in the Lark's Quarry trackway, Thirlborn made latex casts of the hundreds of prints he found.
Once it dries, this first coat will give us a perfect, detailed replica of the original surface. And it's nice and flexible. We can pull it out from the undercuts.
Look at that. That's definitely cool.
Yeah. No, you can
The latex casts will allow him to study the tracks in detail back in the lab.
pop it out, perfectly detailed. If the original gets damaged anymore, we can get photographs, measurements, drawings of this one.
Preserved in latex is the characteristic three-toed print of a mighty carnivore, like Allosaurus, which came to Lark's Quarry in search of a meal. These tracks tell a silent tale, the fateful meeting between a predator and its prey. It's the only trackway on Earth preserving an event that took only a few terrifying moments to occur. The interval between life and death.
Keep them narrow, yeah.
Using a simple tape measure, dinosaur trackers can read footprints like a book. They know how fast the creature was going, whether it was calmly walking or tensely stalking.
1.7 meters.
Like a detective at the scene of a crime, Tony Thirlborn takes detailed measurements so he can precisely reconstruct the movements of the killer.
4. The big one here is walking. His average speed overall, the big predator's average speed is 7 kilometers an hour, miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, thereabouts. And that's a pretty fair walking speed, let's say, for humans, but it's not in a hurry. What's interesting is that the first half of the trackway here shows long strides, the creature's walking along quite smartly. Halfway along, he suddenly slows down, the footprints become shallower, he starts to weave a bit from side to side. The creature's obviously becoming a bit more hesitant, a bit more careful and cautious as it approaches the waterhole down there. It's as if the creature is stalking something or trying to select its prey from the animals down at the waterhole here.
The hunter now had its prey in its sights. It even had 2 kinds of prey to choose from. These 2 dinosaurs, the plant-eating ornithopods and the small scavenging coelosaurs, mingle harmlessly together. Meat-eaters and plant-eaters side by side, unsuspecting, as they gather around the waterhole to drink. Into this scene plunges the carnivore, hungry to snack on these bite-sized monsters. The huge predator is spotted. The trackway reveals what happened next.
At least 160 small dinosaurs ran in the opposite direction over the tracks of that big predator. It looks very much, from the fact that they're all running together in the same direction, at the same time, over that predator's tracks. It looks very much as if that's an escape route, an emergency way out, and they are taking it.
by their attacker with their backs to the waterhole, the terrified animals have no choice but to run straight toward the carnivore. Their tiny tracks move at full speed toward the beast that has stalked them. Cut off and panic-stricken, they charge toward the gaping jaws of the predator and certain death. No one knows how many scavengers and plant eaters died that day. But without their tracks, preserved in the sandstone of Australia's rugged outback, this remarkable glimpse of a moment in time 100 million years ago would have been lost forever. There was a time when footprints were simply footnotes to the story of the dinosaurs. But today, through the work of trackers like Tony Thirlborn and Martin Lockley, we've seen the dinosaurs come alive and let them lead us back into the distant past.